Roger, copy.
Hey, how's it going, Eiman? How you doing?
Good, excited to be here. How are you doing today, Pablo?
Doing well. Okay, I guess let's dive right into it. So it's been 1 year since your flight, and in that time you've been very busy. I want to, I guess, kind of start in chronological order, and kind of hear your story for people that might not know how you started out at MoonDAO and what were the events that kind of took place and your journey to space. I mean, I guess maybe that story starts even earlier when you're applying to NASA. So maybe we can start there and just kind of, make our way through and then update everyone on what you've been doing in the year since.
Well, thank you for having me here, and obviously thank you for supporting this community, supporting my, dreams coming true of going to space. I would say that this story started long ago when I was half the age I am now. Really, I mean, much like everyone probably here, I've always dreamt of going to space. And then when I turned 25, we were down at the Kennedy Space Center, and I kind of rekindled that desire. And I thought, hey, I wonder what you need to do to be an astronaut. Now that I'm an adult, I was finishing medical school. And so I ran home from the Kennedy, or to the hotel from the Kennedy Space Center, and looked on my computer. And sure enough, I had the qualifications at that point to apply to be a NASA astronaut. So I waited until they announced the class. And in 2008, I ended up applying and made it all the way to the finals. So it went from this like vague, oh, I would love to be an astronaut. Do I meet the qualifications? To, whoa, I'm down to like the final, 50 people. And I think it was about 60 people, and they're taking 10. So didn't get picked. Continued to try, was a finalist once more in 2013. And I even have an application in still, but they just announced that they're going to announce the class in September. So I don't think I'm getting picked for that. But then in 2021, I mean, I think we all were excited when commercial space started revving up. Inspiration 4 launched, if you guys recall that. And then that was right before that, Virgin and Blue Origin launched their first human flights, or at least crewed human flights. Virgin had some test flights before. So it was pretty exciting time, I think, in 2021, because I realized, okay, maybe NASA is not going to be my path there. Let me look for other ways to go to space with the commercial space industry. And MoonDAO at that point did this wild thing where they basically crowdfunded sending someone to space. And you can speak more to that, Pablo, because I know you were intimately involved with that, but raised enough money not to just send one person, but to send 2 people. And I was involved pretty early on. I mean, I don't recall exactly when I came in, but I was part of that initial ticket to space, contest. I was there voting for Kobe Cotton, who ended up winning. I voted in that election process to decide who would go to space first, who would be our first astronaut, and then really stuck with the community over like the last 3 years. And I would say much to the kind of a benefit to you guys, or much to the shows how hard you guys have been working. A lot of those communities that started in 2021 really have disappeared. So the fact that MoonDAO still exists 4 years later, is still funding space-related projects, whether it's policy, whether it's science, whether it's outreach and philanthropy to kids like we're going to be doing in Brazil here soon, or whether it's trying to help people get to space. I mean, it's really impressive, because a lot of these institutions you saw form in 2021 have disappeared. So yeah, I've kind of stuck with MoonDAO from that beginning where I didn't win that initial ticket to space. Jan had won it, and I know we've discussed this before, but for those of you who don't know, initially MoonDAO the community chose Kobe Cotton to go, and then someone else had won a ticket to space. Unfortunately, despite all of MoonDAO and Pablo and the rest of the team's efforts, he could not fly for various government reasons. And so they had to redo the drawing a few years later. And I remember sitting there on that second drawing, which was, I think it was December 2024. I mean, 2024. Yeah. And I was 4th place. And I was pretty upset. I was sitting there at the dinner table with my wife and my son and my baby daughter at that point. And my wife looked at me, she's like, what do you mean? You're like closer than you've ever been. There's only 3 people in front of you. And I'm like, okay, I guess you're right. And through a series of events, the first 3 people either could not go or chose not to go. And so you guys called me in April, and I flew in August of last year, almost a year to the date. Tomorrow will be my year anniversary of not just going to space, but really like fulfilling that dream that I had for 20 plus years. I mean, really 20 years, and actualizing that person that I was, and kind of putting that piece of me at rest, which I think is quite valuable, and probably something that you all don't appreciate because you can't see my internal dialogue. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, I remember like the night after the flight, you stayed up. I think it was like midnight when we finally had the time to talk, and it was like, I think we ended maybe at like 1 a.m. and we did a conversation on a couch that we found in the hotel room, and I was asking you like, so how was it? And I feel like at that point, so much had been going on in your mind. I was surprised just by how articulate you were after just probably 24 hours of just adrenaline and people being with your family, going through the whole rigmarole of I don't know when you had to wake up for that flight because it was very early in the morning. But I was just impressed by your stamina there. But I guess now I want to ask you again, having the 1 year in between to kind of reflect on it. What kind of still sticks with you a year later? When you recall that moment of going up and then floating in zero gravity, looking down on Earth, what is, I guess, I'm sure there's stuff in retrospect now that you're maybe like piecing together months after the fact. What was the flight like?
I mean, really at this point, it's both. I knew it happened, right? It was very real, but it's almost like a dream sequence because it seems so far off, and it was so surreal. But the memories that stick with me the most is looking out that window and seeing not only the Earth's kind of curvature, the darkness that is space. I mean, it was quite impressive, but just how bright and beautiful the Earth is, and it was unlike any sort of light I've ever seen. And maybe if we could look at the sun directly without destroying our eyes, maybe it would have a similar effect. But looking at the sun is blinding, so you never really get that view. But looking at the Earth, it was just, yeah, it was calm, it was serene, it was full of color and vibrancy. And I think that's probably the point that stuck with me the longest. Now, obviously, there are lots of different parts. Like when I was sitting on that rocket, my heart was racing, my breath was fast, my hands were shaking, and it wasn't fear or being scared or nervous. It was just excitement. It was pure, like, adrenaline junkie. I was talking to my cousin the other day, and he's into car racing, which I've never been into. And he's like, I think if you had liked cars, I was never really a big car guy. He's like, I think this would have been your avenue, but instead you liked space, so you had to seek a spaceship to get that kick. And it was something else. I mean, to sit there and then feel, first you hear and see the rocket light up because the whole inside of that capsule turns orange. And then just to feel yourself lifting up and watching the Earth get smaller and smaller is pretty amazing. It's unlike anything else really out there.
Right. And so there's the journey itself, but then I guess there's the integration afterwards. You kind of, I guess, took on a new identity. Before that point, you're a cardiologist, an oncologist, and now you've kind of assumed this new role of also being an astronaut. I'm curious, what was that transformation like?
Yeah.
How did it? I assume you're one of the most popular people at the hospital.
Well,
I
I
remember we
mean,
had like the dean of Vanderbilt or someone getting into meetings with all these people. I'm curious. Yeah,
yeah.
what was that like? Did you enjoy it? Did it ever become overwhelming? Yeah.
So I would say I'm not the most popular. We actually had one of the bachelors was an ER doc at our hospital for a long time. And so that guy definitely beats me. The Bachelor beats someone going to space. But I would say that, obviously my notability is higher. More people know who I am. Obviously, patients will often Google their doctors if they've never met them, and it pops up. And so when they come in, people will often ask shyly, after we've had our conversation, they'll say, "Did you really go to space? Like, was that you?" And then like, "How was it?" So then I have to pull up my phone and I'll show them a 30-second video of me floating around. The best part of it, I think, is that people are curious. People want to know what it felt like. And I will never be tired of that question because I felt like it was such a privilege. I mean, there's still been less than 800 humans that have ever gone to space, which is wild, right? In all of human history. And hopefully that number is going to double in the next 5 years, maybe even sooner. But that's where we are. That's the reality. And obviously, I think all of this stuff helped in my visibility in trying to help with the community. Even before this space flight, it's interesting. I was sitting there a year before I got selected by MoonDAO, talking to a friend. I was like, "Well, how can I make my impact?" He's like, "Well, why don't we come up with a way that you can go talk about STEM to schools?" And so I was in the process of thinking about that and figuring out how to do that at the local schools here. And then I got the space flight, and that's exactly what I did when I came back, but it was a lot cooler for the kids because I went from being an analog astronaut, which, as many of you know, is someone who goes and does a mission here on Earth where they simulate being on the moon or Mars, spending 6+ days in a confined environment with limited resources, to now being someone who's actually gone to space and can show a video of me floating around. So much more engaging with the kids. I'm actually going to go do another STEM night here at the end of the month, at the end of September, at a local K-8 school. And so that's been fun. I think that, I think it's been a great experience. And I really don't mind when people ask me about it because I feel very privileged that I was able to experience that.
Right. And well, I guess speaking of that video, Ryan's prepared a video here, and I think we can show the community a bit, parts of your flight. Ryan, if you want to cue that up. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Look at this. This is crazy.
We still keep hands on, guys. We're still safe and able.
Yellow KFT activation.
Wow, wow.
Blue control signs in the blind. Yellow KFT activated. Yellow KFT aisle activated.
Where is space, everyone?
Look out this window. Just get up there. Get up there.
Look at this.
Wow. Remember this moment.
You
want to say that?
Breathe.
Wow.
Rob? We feel it.
Unbelievable.
Somebody's getting a picture outside.
Wow.
Waist.
I'm
Groin.
Oh my God.
Nikki, get me a picture.
I'm trying to
You okay, Carson?
I'm great. I got that gorgeous cover.
Get back in your seats, everyone.
Everyone in. About to land.
Touchdown, everyone. Hands on rails.
For landing.
Hands on rails.
Hold on, hold the rails.
How many parachutes do you think deploy?
I don't know.
I see one.
Don't take your seatbelt off.
Echo Romeo, copy. Everything is amazing. Over.
Seeing a lot of smiles, a lot of jubilance here.
Amazing. So I guess looking back on that footage, what are the thoughts that go through your mind reflecting on that?
I mean, I think I feel very fortunate for the people who went up with me because it was a great group, and we've all stayed in touch, and everyone brought their own personal life experience like you do in these things. And we had Rob, who was the first NASA funded person to go on a commercial space flight and do research, which was pretty cool. And he actually, I know, is doing more research with Blue Origin. So he's continued that work and had done that kind of work before. I thought it was very cool that we had Carson, who was the youngest woman to cross the Kármán line, and I believe remains so. And yeah, I mean, it was just an incredible experience. I mean, if you can tell, I was ugly crying on the way up just out of enthusiasm for the experience. And if I go up again, I will make sure I'm not ugly crying, so the pictures are better. But it was pretty amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't tell you were crying, but yeah, you could see it on your face, just the emotions, rising up, and yeah, and so something else that I noticed is that throughout the flight, you're kind of you're reminding people of the training, and I think from what I've pieced together is that Blue Origin was very impressed by just your ability to kind of lead there, and then they even invited you to become a crew member 7, which is, I think an incredible journey, going from going on the flight itself to then becoming crew member 7. I recall we were at a conference in New Orleans in Texas, and you're kind of weighing the option of between your practice, something that you've worked for really decades in your training, and now kind of taking the leap into working for Blue Origin as a crew member 7 and helping train the astronauts. Could you maybe bring us back to that moment, and that what was that decision like, and how then you took on the role, and could you maybe walk us through that journey, or those first few days at Blue Origin, and working there after going on the flight?
Yeah, so I've always imagined, how could I get into the world of aerospace? As a physician, there's a few ways. One is to do further training in what's called become a flight surgeon. So there's lots of doctors who've done that, typically ER, internal medicine training, and then you go do another 2-year fellowship and become an ER flight surgeon trained doctor. I like cardiology, so from a medical standpoint, I didn't want to do that. So there was not a lot of other opportunities for me to enter that field. And when I saw what they did during my flight, the crew member 7s, I thought this was a perfect role. It's a combination of training for high risk operations. You have to be able to train people if something goes wrong, right? Not just what goes right. It was a mix of dealing with payload missions and the research that's coming on, which I think is very cool. And also the mission operations, which is that, teamwork in a very high level, which is basically what I do every day in cardiology. So they were kind enough to allow me to apply, and I interviewed with the other candidates who also interviewed, and I was fortunate to get picked up. It was not an easy decision whether to go or not, because as you've said, it's like I've spent 25 years either training to become a doctor or being a doctor. It's a long time. And I have a pretty good practice set up already in Nashville. I had some administrative roles, things like that. But this was an opportunity, and it was not an opportunity that was going to come by again. So with in conversation with my wife and other people like my parents, my brother, I decided to go, and they were fortunate enough to allow me to come work with them. And it was awesome. I mean, Blue Origin's a great place to work. The team and the people are amazing. It's a lot of very smart individuals working towards the goal of sending people not just on New Shepard, but also, they have New Glenn, which is their orbital rocket. They have a lunar lander. They're working on a space station. I mean, this is like a fully fleshed out corporation that's looking at how people can live and work in space, which is incredible. And I loved the job. It was fantastic. I got to go to every launch, and I was training in mission ops, things like capsule communications. I was training in how to train the astronauts, and then also working with the research payloads. So really the job was great and something that I would love to do and would love to still be doing. But the reality was that I had to travel quite a bit from my family to go spend time in Van Horn, Texas, which is where the flights are. And I have a 3-year-old and a 10-year-old, and they had started noticing and voicing their complaints. And so after 6 months at Blue Origin, I made the difficult decision to come back full-time in medicine, which I also love. So as they say, it was a great plan B, but it was hard to kind of leave that dream of working in aerospace. But as they say, the chapter, it was not the right time in my story, and maybe there'll be a time in the future where it does make sense. But for now, I need to be closer to home and, focused on my children, and as people who have kids know. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. And I get the feeling that you will revisit that chapter somewhere down the line. And so you during your stint at Blue Origin, you helped train for the crew of the all-women's flight. And so that was, working with celebrities like Katy Perry, and that must have been surreal. And obviously that got a lot of coverage online, but you were really you saw it from the inside. I'm curious what sort of what was your perception of that flight, going from training all the way to the media that it got afterwards. What were you surprised, I guess, by just the amount of coverage? I mean, surely because they were celebrities, maybe that was expected. But I'm curious, what was that whole experience like, training all of these celebrities and then seeing them go up, and what a wild couple months that must have been.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone understood it was going to be a high-profile flight because of the people flying. And I was disappointed, I guess would be the best word to use, in how the media at large treated this group of people who decided to fly. The beauty of companies like Blue Origin and the New Shepard rocket is that they are trying to make space available to everyone. So just like you all raised money so that Kobe Cotton and myself could go to space, Space for Humanity has raised money to send people for space. There are other organizations that are helping it. And sure, some of the people who are going to space are wealthy and can afford to pay for it themselves, but we shouldn't be putting gates in front of people to get there, right? So I think that it's very important to remember that everyone and anyone who wants to go to space should have that opportunity. Right now, we're in the early stages of this kind of thinking and where commercial space is, but my hope is 10, 15 years down the line, that cost comes dramatically down. And so everyone who's listening in here can go up there. So every single one of those people who went up on that flight were deserving, and I think did a great job as a cohesive team, trained together well, went up, had their own experiences, right? Because everyone who goes up experiences it differently. How I experienced it is different than I'm sure how Katy Perry experienced it versus how Kobe Cotton experienced it. But that brings value, and we do need to send more people that are not per se scientists, right? Or engineers, because we need people to go up there who have different points of view, who have different life experiences, so they can come back and share with us what they've experienced. I mean, when you and I are in school, right? And we are in grade school, we're not reading Pythagoras's theorem on the triangle. Maybe we have to learn it in math, right? But we're not reading the text, but we are reading Homer's, the Odyssey or the Iliad. Right. So the artists are what really bring that knowledge that can then be disseminated to the masses. It's not the scientists and the engineers, at least not traditionally. Now I think we have some great science influencers like Emily Calandrelli, the space gal who flew on a mission after mine. But I think it's important, and I think it's really disappointing. And I mean, to call it frankly, it's misogyny, the flack that they got, right? It was sexism, it was misogynistic. You don't hear people talking like that about any of the other flights that have come downstream from there. And there have been a number of human flights. And yeah, it was disappointing. But that crew was awesome. They loved it. They had a great experience. They brought back, their own experiences and have shared it with people. Yeah, it was awesome. It was great to work on. And I had a friend, Amanda Wynn, who's a close friend, was on that flight. So it was nice to be able to, she was actually at my flight with MoonDAO as a supporter of me. So it was nice to be able to be there and support her flight and see her dreams come fulfilled, which had also been, much like mine, decades in the making.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, to me, the way I think of any new technology is like when you're first making it at low unit, there aren't many New Shepard vehicles. There aren't many companies that are working on this. The price point with any new technology is going to be high when you start. Cars were very expensive when they were first developed, but then as you kind of get to mass production and then the price goes down, then all of the learnings from those early versions start to affect the masses, and the price will go down. So I see it as kind of like a transient phase, this like kind of millionaire and billionaire and so on that goes into space. And I think the unique perspective that you bring is that I mean, I don't know your financial status, but you couldn't have afforded this personally, and so yeah, I think it's cool to see someone who is maybe out of distribution, not a millionaire or billionaire that's going, but at the same time being able to kind of point out that it is a bit unfair that these are still human beings that'll bring their own unique perspective, and the amount of wealth that they have it shouldn't affect the nature of their character, or shouldn't be an attack vector on them necessarily. Like everyone when they're young dreams about going to space regardless of their outcomes and success later in life, and the fact that they're putting money into this means that the technology will get cheaper over time as they find as they can reduce costs, and so I totally agree on the misogyny point too. I feel like that's unfortunate. I think that they're somehow pinned between the political sort of discourse, and then but so you and I'm curious. I mean, what that being such a high-profile flight, I believe you got to meet Jeff Bezos and others. That seems like a very surreal moment in history or in time to be out there, just in West Texas and seeing all this. I guess what are your feelings in terms of the sort of evolution of the technology? Were you able to maybe peer into the future a little bit and see where this might be going? I know that they're working on getting more New Shepard flights going at a faster cadence. I'm sure the operations were becoming tighter and tighter, and the turnaround time. I believe you're in West Texas like pretty much every month. What is the cadence that Blue Origin is targeting? If you're
so. I mean, I think you're absolutely right that money going into these programs are good, and particularly something like New Shepard, which is their commercial vehicle for people like you and me, right? New Glenn, when it gets built and increases their cadence, it'll be interesting to see who's flying on that, but it's also probably going to be NASA government astronauts, right? Because it's an orbital rocket, and it's going to be much more expensive because it's just exponential more thrust and engines and other things. If you look at Blue Origin's history, recent history, they had a 20-day turnaround. I mean, they have 2 rockets, 2 crew capsules. And so with that, and their goal is to increase it, which everyone knows that as your hope is to increase cadence, but a 20-day turnaround between 2 flights, I think that was in February. And I think they repeated that another time too, which is amazing, right? That's a pretty short turnaround. So you're right now it's like every month they could fly. And they've been pretty on the dot with hitting their timing. So there's not a lot of scrubs. There's not a lot of delays. A lot of these flights like that, New Shepard, the all-women's flight, the 11th human flight, went off to like the minute. I think, it was supposed to launch at, I think, 8 a.m. and it launched at 8 a.m. in like 10 seconds or something. So it's an incredible organization. It's fun to watch all of that. It's fun to be in mission control and see how those operations are improving with every single flight. The same thing is happening for the systems, whether it's the crew systems, the avionics, the rocket. It's just a constant development of smart people thinking about how can we make this better? How can we make this simpler, and simpler being easier to turn around, easier to bring back and have a higher cadence, and to have less, pieces that could not function, right? So they're always thinking about improvement and quality and safety. And yeah, it'll be very exciting to see where we are in a year or two. If you had told me when I took this job so I think I interviewed in October, like I flew in August, I think I interviewed in October, November, then I started in January. If you had told me there was gonna be a 20-day turnaround when I flew in August, I would have said unlikely. But now we are seeing it, right? So it's very cool to see that organization function. And I'm really bullish on the company, because if you ever have a chance to go down to Huntsville and see their new Glen rocket factory, I mean, their manufacturing is top of the line, and the innovation that they're putting into these rockets and into not just the design, but like the manufacturing of it. How do we bring down cost? How do we improve reliability so that there's consistency in each rocket? It's incredible. And so I think 5 to 10 years from now, it'll be funny because we'll go back and look at where we are today, and we'll be like, wow, how did we get there? I mean, Starship just launched, was it yesterday? And 2 days ago, and had this incredible, right? They had a number of failures, and they had this amazing flight that by all counts was successful. So it's still a very exciting time to be in aerospace, and I'm excited that we are alive to experience this, right? We missed the moon phase of space, and so this is our time, right? The commercial space era. And I think it's exciting to be in your 30s or 40s or 20s and seeing this develop, because hopefully we'll be around in 40 or 50 years and see where we're at.
Right. Yeah, the thing that's really impressive to me is just the sort of consistency and reliability. Like the record of New Shepard is really wild. They have to have everything I mean, just the safety standards need to be top notch when you're flying humans. And yeah, that's like an entirely different challenge than say like developing Starship, where you can blow these things up and you can test these things. They need Blue Origin needs to get everything perfect 100% of the time. And it's really impressive because yeah, the vehicle is performed perfectly, essentially. Yeah, I'm curious, what goes into kind of, I'm sure a lot of your role is on the human side. How do you train humans to make sure that they can get in and out of their seat appropriately, and that they, because that's probably one of the, like, you can account for all of the engineering stuff, but when you have people who they haven't dedicated their lives necessarily to going to space, and they need to be 100% on their game, how do you account for those things psychologically? I guess there's health tests that they have to go through, but at the same time they're able to open access to people of all ages, and so it's really impressive. But yeah, I guess from the role that you were in, how do you help people train and prepare for the flight?
Repetition. I mean, it's like if you're going to go become a surgeon or do some sort of high risk procedure on humans, you spend, your 4 years in medical school and then 5 years of doing surgery, because cutting someone open is pretty high risk. But it's repetition, right? So you become a good surgeon when you've done a lot of cases and you've thought through the bad situations that could happen, right? What could go wrong? What we'd say off-nominal situations in space. So when individuals come to get trained, like my own training, you have one day where you're doing all the nominal stuff, or what would you do when things go normally, and you're practicing and practicing and practicing and practicing. And then once you've got that hammered in, the next day you do all the what happens if there's an anomaly, or we're off nominal flight. And so I really believe in those 2 days, you get a lot of experience, and they ensure that you are confident and comfortable in what you're doing, because they're not going to let you fly if not everyone's comfortable. Like if you're not comfortable as the person flying, or if the people training you are concerned, then, as you said, safety first. Now, there are situations, if you've looked at prior flights, where I think people choose not to get out of their seat. I think Ed Dwight was one of them, if I recall from the videos, but he's, I believe, the oldest person that they've ever sent up. And I believe he chose not to get out of his seat because he wanted to enjoy the view. He probably loosened his seatbelt or something so he could float a little bit, but that took out that concern. And I wasn't working for Blue Origin when Ed flew, but if I recall seeing from the videos. So there are options for anyone who wants to go. I think Blue Origin is willing to try to find a way to send everyone to space, right? That's their goal. So they're always thinking about how can we send people to space who traditionally haven't gone.
Right. And I want to. So you have been working on a documentary, and I believe we have a trailer. And I guess maybe before playing the trailer, could you maybe tell us a little bit about what the goals are of this documentary, and what went into making it, working with the crew around it. You traveled quite a bit and spoke at many different high schools and elementary schools, and could you maybe walk us through the kind of making of this documentary?
Yeah, so this goes back to the idea of what do you do after your space flight, or how do you contribute back to the community? Because space flight is a moment in time, and yes, it was a large moment in time for me, but it's in the past, right? Like I've fulfilled that piece of me. It was an amazing experience, but how can I bring that back and share it with the community? So I think what we as a society need to think of is how can we contribute back, particularly when we're given opportunities that most aren't. And so as part of that, the thought was, okay, well, I'm going to go around speaking to these schools, elementary kids, high school kids, really about what can you do to chase your dreams? That you don't need to limit yourself, that if you're creative and you work hard, really the skies are the limit, or maybe not even the limit, right? We went past the skies. So with MoonDAO, the support of the MoonDAO community, I had Jerome, who is a local person here in Nashville. Jerome Moore came and directed and produced a documentary, a short one, where we went around and talked about my story, talked about how I got to where I got, and really followed me through as I was going to these schools. And it was very cool. We have a trailer here we're going to show. We're going to actually premiere it on September 20th at the Adventure Science Center, which is the local science museum here in Nashville, where I used to volunteer at when I was like 12 and 13. And even at that point, there was a Mission to Mars exhibit that came through, I think in 1994. And I remember just being blown away. I got to wear the astronaut suit. They had a rover. It was just a cool experience. So now, not only am I going to premiere my documentary there, I've actually loaned my flight suit to them. And so they're building an exhibit. They have a large kind of space area. They have a huge Mars rover, like the actual size of the Mars rover there. And this is going to be part of that second floor exhibit, where it's going to be the flight suit. And so on the same day as we're doing the documentary premiere, that's going to be available for people to visit, and we'll be there as part of a permanent structure for the next, however many years.
That's awesome. All right, let's roll the trailer. I believe this is
what I want to talk to you about today is that you can chase crazy dreams. You know, if you have big, wild dreams, that's okay, and you should keep those dreams. And if you set your mind to it, you can do whatever you want, whatever that goal may be. Okay, so how did I get from being this awkward little kid at the Boys and Girls Club to floating in space? How does one do that? How do you get from point A to point B? Hello, I'm Dr. Eiman Jahangir. I'm an astronaut cardiologist and an educator. The space stuff was kind of crazy because I grew up, my first recollection of rockets was in Iran. You know, the bomb sirens would go off and we'd have to run to the basement. It wasn't until we got here and went to Huntsville, and luckily we live, you know, close to the Space and Rocket Center, that I was able to see that, wow, these things are amazing, and they send people to space, they send people to the moon. When I first found out I was going to space, I was ecstatic. I mean, it was something I've been trying a long time. Even in the last 4 years, every opportunity I have to apply, I'm applying for things. In a lot of ways, I'm living the American dream. You can be an immigrant, you can work hard, and with the right support, raise up to do big things. You know, for me, that was becoming a physician, and then it was becoming an astronaut. But I wouldn't have been able to do it without the freedoms that this country gives us, without the opportunities, and then without the people behind me lifting me up the whole way. Don't give up. I mean, if this is something you really want to do, you can be the person that breaks that glass and shows the kids behind you that you can, you know, you can do this. You can have these dreams. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, Jerome did an amazing job with the trailer, and I got to see a little sneak preview of the documentary too. And yeah, I don't know, I don't want to be cheesy about it, I guess, but it's really touching, the whole thing. And I'm curious if you have any thoughts or anything you want to share about the making of the documentary.
I mean, I would say that it is cool to see the kids' reactions, right? Of how they interact. I know a lot of people in this community do things like this, where they go and speak to children about their experiences at either scientists or analog astronauts. But the enthusiasm and engagement is always pretty awesome. The little kids are the best. High school kids are variable. It just depends if they're interested in STEM or engineering and things like that. And then, yeah, it was fun to make. And I'm glad that we're finally getting it kind of out there. And I'm sure that after we do the premiere, we'll be able to put it out on YouTube for any community members who want to see it, and then see where to go from there. But I think it's important to document these things, because otherwise, you know, it gets lost in the ether. And so many people are doing such amazing work that if we don't document it, then it's like, how do people know, you know, what impact you're making out there? Particularly when a community like MoonDAO is behind you and supporting you, it's nice to be able to show it back to the community that this is what you guys kind of made happen.
Right. And so you've got an upcoming trip. Anastasia, who went with us on a zero gravity flight and is now leading a project to go out to Brazil. And so you're able to kind of mix both your astronaut role and also your cardiologist role, which I think is really cool. Can you maybe tell us a little bit about the upcoming trip to Brazil?
Yeah, so it's an organization that Anastasia has worked with before, where they bring art to people who are dealing with cancer, right? People with diagnosis of cancer, mainly children, but specifically they're bringing space art, because as you all can imagine, space is very exciting, motivating. People dream about it. So I will be going, and I believe with a cosmonaut also will be attending. And we are going to go to various hospitals and institutions and do work with children, specifically like artwork and space art with children. And then I also will be speaking at least to one hospital, maybe two hospitals, giving like a medical talk about the cardiovascular effects of childhood cancer survivors. So kids who have cancer when they grow up to be adults, we know are at higher risk for certain cardiovascular diseases. And so that's something I deal with from like a professional standpoint. And my talk's going to be in English, but I did translate all the slides in Portuguese because I figure there's probably going to be a mix of English, non-English, and somewhat English speakers. So hopefully I can get my message across on both ends, both to the kids and to the medical professionals.
Yeah, it's awesome that you're able to give back in all these different kinds of ways, both to the kids that are going through that, and then also to help educate doctors as well. So yeah, it's awesome. We have a lot of good questions coming in from the community.
Right.
I think maybe we can open it up, and Ryan, if you want to maybe put some of these questions up, we can take them one by one. Okay, so the first one we have here is from Martina. She says, how hard or stressful was it to get quickly back into the seat before landing?
So as I said, we train a lot on this, so I felt pretty comfortable. But if you heard in the video, they like you to put the straps on a certain way, I think just because that's the way you get the most stability. And so I was even reciting like the order to put the straps on, because it's a 5-point harness, right? So it was not too bad. You know, they give you a warning, like a 30-second warning. Okay, you have 30 more seconds, and then we want you to start getting in your seat. So you have time to prepare. And then, yeah, it's not, you know, the hardest part is you don't want to get back in your seat, but.
Yeah, I imagine. Yeah, well, I guess it's back to the repetition thing. Hopefully, at that point, with all the adrenaline coursing through your veins, you can still remember the ordering.
Yeah.
Cassandra asks, besides the ugly crying, was there anything that surprised you about your own reaction to being in space?
Oh, I think that it made me want more, which wasn't too surprising, I guess. Like, it wasn't like, oh, I did it once, I'm good. Beyond that, I think that the other surprising thing was just how emotional I was going up. I don't know if I thought I would be that emotional, but I felt it coming on. I was like, you know what? You just let it happen and enjoy it, right? This is my moment. And I was sitting on there, relatively private, because no one's paying attention to me. Granted, there's all those cameras, but you know, my crewmates aren't paying attention to see what I'm doing at that time, because they're having their own awesome experience. But yeah, I was pretty emotional going up, and I think that's maybe not surprising, but surprisingly, I just understood it and let it come out. But I also felt a deep sense of peace, particularly once I got back in my seat and the sun hit me. I think I was like, okay, wow, like this happened.
Martina asks, did you get to see the Earth shine? Which aspects of this experience were your favorite ones?
So absolutely. I mean, the Earth is so vibrant and vivid and beautiful. I mean, I think Cassandra, who I know is a photographer, should take amazing photos, you know, if she's never allowed to be in orbit, because it is, yeah, it was incredible. Just the way the Earth looks from up there. And it's almost like TV and what we see in, you know, on screens, because we've all seen the Earth from space, like on a screen, doesn't do it justice. And I don't know how to explain that. You know, Frank White interviewed one of the astronauts. He told me the name the other day, but it's in his book. I have his book over here. And the guy said, yeah, well, you can see the Grand Canyon on a picture, or you can see it with your own eyes. It's way different in your own eyes than when you see it on a picture. And part of that is probably just like reality of like how small you are relative to it. So, yeah.
Yeah, so you're above West Texas. Yeah, what could you see? What's the furthest you could see on the horizon? You could see the Grand Canyon as you were up there?
So I would like to tell you that I was looking at any of that stuff, but I wasn't. Some people go up there and look at the landmarks. I was very much focused like in the distance of, wow, there's the Earth. There it ends. There's space, and it does not end. It just keeps going. So I didn't try to you know, view landmarks, but there are people who go up and look down. They're like, oh, okay, this is that. Honestly, it's so fast. I don't think that it would be very difficult to do. And I don't know if I would recommend when people go up that be their focus, because I don't think it's value added. to the experience. I think you should go and look at the horizon and look at space. And
yeah, makes sense. I don't know if do we have we might be out of questions. If anyone in the YouTube comment section has any more questions. Oh, here we go. It's another one. Eiman, do you have any thoughts of doing more analog missions?
I actually think with Anastasia, we're going to go visit Habitat Marte, the one in Brazil, but not for an analog. Not for. I don't know. We might be spending the night there, but I don't know for sure. I would be, if it was an analog in the right setting, I would do it. Meaning, if there was one in like under the water or on a boat in the ocean or in Antarctica or the Arctic, I think I'd be more inclined to do it. The trouble with analogs for me currently remains time away from the family, right? So this is the same thing as the Blue Origin job. So yeah, I think there's a lot of value added to doing them. I think that there can be good research done with them, and I think that there's a lot to be learned from human interactions in closed quarters during these analogs.
Right. And speaking of, we'll be having a big vote coming up for the sponsorship of several analog astronauts for the world's biggest astronaut. So that should be that vote should be live sometime next week. So yeah, really looking forward to that. Rob asks, when do you think the time will come when Blue Origin scales up so more people can pay to ride or get the chance to go?
It's a good question. I don't know if I have the answer to that one, Ranger. The goal is to make these things more affordable, but whether that's a year or 5 years from now, I'm not sure. Yeah, because you're right. And what's affordable, is Virgin initially was $250K when people signed up 15 years ago, and now it's what, $750. Is $100,000 affordable? Is $10,000 affordable? I think until it really gets to the point where it's in the $10,000 to $20,000 range, it's going to be out of reach for so many people. Once you get it to that range, it's like a very expensive vacation, right? And so people can wrap their head around that more. But yeah, $100,000, like that's a ton of money for 99% of the American population.
Right. Yeah, and well, yeah, I've seen some analyses of if you were to pack people up like sardines on one of these Starship flights, that you could get it down to that range of maybe like a college tuition or something like that. Yeah. I wonder in the future, I mean, maybe this is more speculative, but if the economic opportunity of people going up into space and then, working up there ends up being, positive, as in like that you can make that equation work. You can go up and work in space, either in orbit or on the moon, and, make more than you pay. I feel like that's going to be the inflection point of mass space migration. I'm curious, being at Blue Origin, were there a lot of discussions like that, or were you privy to any sort of interesting kind of like speculative futures like that? Because I know that's a major goal of Blue Origin, is to have millions of people living and working in space.
Yeah, I mean, from a New Shepard standpoint, that's not going to be the living and working in space, right? So you need to get New Glenn up and running. There are lots of projections, but as we've learned in aerospace, those things, it's good to have projections, and hopefully they stay on a timeline. But space is hard. Space remains hard, and it's good because people are doing hard things. But I don't know when we'll get to where even it'll be $100,000, right, to fly on one of these things. I don't know. Probably in my lifetime. Hopefully we'll get orbital flights going. That'll drive the cost. If you can get regular orbital flights going, that'll drive the cost of orbital flights down, which then would drive the cost of suborbital flights down, presumably.
Right. We've got another question here from the Human Space Program. Shout out to the Human Space Program and Frank White. They ask, what, if any, is a medical cardiologist's insight you've had about spaceflight?
Well, interestingly enough, my mentor and close advisor is Drew Gaffney, who flew on one of the NASA flights as a payload specialist. He was a cardiologist. So I was studying this stuff before just out of interest. And, I think that cardiology is, someone had posted this also, like how it, will we be doing research in zero G and lunar habitation? We already have a pretty good understanding of what zero G does to the cardiac system. Your cardiovascular health decreases just like because your endurance, right? Imagine you're not having to work as hard, so your aerobic health kind of drops, even with them running on the treadmill an hour a day. You're prone for arrhythmias, so you have more arrhythmias, things like atrial fibrillation. There hasn't been demonstration of being prone for blood clots, but there has been a case of an astronaut in the last couple of years getting a blood clot in space. So there are a lot of things that we already know about what happens in space. Really, none of them are an issue while you're in zero G, except for that kind of aerobic, decrease in endurance. The problem comes when you get back to Earth or to the moon or to Mars, because now all of a sudden, for one instance, when you go into zero gravity, all the fluid shifts up. Your body thinks you have too much fluid. It works to pee it out, and your thirst decreases. So when you're in space, your total blood volume actually decreases.
Mm-hmm.
And then you come back to Earth, and all of a sudden gravity's pulling all that stuff down. That's why you see these astronauts and cosmonauts sitting in chairs, after 6 months or a year in space, because now their body has to get used to gravity again. They have to, increase the fluids that they have back in their cardiovascular system, their vascular system, and just get used to all of it. So the biggest issue is, what if you're going 6 months to Mars, your body is adjusted to being in zero G, and now you land and you have to start doing work. It's going to be very hard, both physically taxing, and also you might be dizzy, lightheaded for a couple of days thereafter. So I think this is where Elon is trying to build robots, right? Elon Musk, if you look at everything he's doing, it's focused on what would we do to get to Mars. You can send the robots before to build these habitats. You can send the Boring Company with their digger that goes in and drills holes, so you can build underground passages and habitats, and do all of these things, so when humans go, they don't have to work as hard, right? So humans can show up, adapt, and then get to the hard work. And I really do think we need humans for some of these things that robots, I'm a big fan of space exploration with satellites and robots and things like that, but I think there has to be a human hand in it, because we see things and can intuit things that robots can't.
Right. I'm curious also, as an oncologist, what are your insights into the radiation? Because I know that's a major concern, especially going to Mars. Could you give us any insights on how the radiation affects maybe your cardiovascular system, or like what are your risks of cancer being exposed to that amount of radiation?
So I am a cardiologist who takes care of patients with cancer. I'm not an oncologist, just to make sure but I do take care of a lot of the cardiovascular risks of cancer patients. I mean, radiation is the number one biggest issue in going to Mars. I mean, even going to the moon, every Apollo astronaut had early onset cataracts, because there's certain types of radiation that we do not have the practical measures to block out. Solar particle events being one of those. There are multiple risks from radiation. One is if you get hit by a large dose, if you just happen to be, out there floating in space on the way to Mars and didn't time it right, and you get hit by a large amount of radiation, that can cause a lot of acute problems, from, like inflammation of your heart muscle, your lung muscle, your bowels. I mean, if you think of any sort of those like acute toxicities that can happen with radiation therapy for cancer patients, all of those cells that are turning over quickly can get damaged. Then there's the long-term effect, which is just like long-term radiation exposure. So you get exposed today, and 10 years later, you form a cancer. Now, I would be more concerned about the short-term effects when you're going to Mars, because how many of the astronauts actually make it to Mars? Do they all make it? Do they not? And then once they get back, there is going to be very much concern about long-term radiation effects. Like, will they get cancer at a younger age? Will they have a higher prevalence of cancer? The answer is almost certainly yes. We just don't know for sure. All of our quantifications are on, like, they're running theories, right? And samples. So to get to Mars, we either need a faster way to get there, faster than 6 months, better radiation shielding, Those would be the two things, and people are working on it. So hopefully in the next 5 to 10 years, we'll figure it out.
Right. Yeah, I'm curious what the state of the art is in terms of the research that's gone into that. I mean, you can't run those experiments on humans, obviously.
No.
But maybe on mice, yeah, have they looked at the sort of long-term effects of radiation on mammals? Do you believe, maybe this is a bit more speculative, but do you believe that that there can be any sort of like therapies or any sort of preventative measures for astronauts going up into space that they can do? I don't know if there would be something that would protect people's organs or things that are more susceptible to damage from radiation.
So people have looked into it. I don't think we have any good measures yet that we know of, but everyone's thinking about this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, Ron. Awesome. Ron asks, Ron Guerin, NASA astronaut Ron Guerin has talked about being in space, and
That's good. That's it. Ron Guerin. Yeah.
Yeah, outside of the masterpiece, where standing on the rim of the canyon, you're in the masterpiece.
That is a good way to say it, Ron. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's the famous article that was written about staring out into the abyss of space and the dread that was associated with that. Did you feel any of that dread? You're looking out into the darkness.
No, I mean, I think I have a good relationship with death, mainly because I'm exposed to it regularly at work. I mean, for lack of a better term, I've seen young people die, I've seen old people die, and it's always sad. So I've thought of my own death, not in a morbid way, but I realize that I'm not a permanent structure to live here forever. And I understand that everything changes. You know, who we are today as a society is very different than what we were when I was growing up 30, 40 years ago, right? So I found it comforting, and just that we are part of this huge thing that we don't understand. And I could see how that could be scary to some people, but I think it's pretty incredible that we sit here. You know, my daughter has this book that's called I Am Big, and it starts with the kid, and it's like a hot air balloon, and then a cloud, and then the earth, the moon, then the earth, then the sun, then the Milky Way galaxy, and then these other guys. It's like, I am not big. There is an expansive, huge system out there that blows away whatever ego and ideas or thoughts we have. So, but yeah, I could see it being completely mind blowing if you really are not introspective and you go up there and you're like, holy smokes, this is something else. And some people do fly who've never thought about that now, right? This is the beauty of Blue Origin. Somebody who's been fortunate to do well in life and make good money can buy a trip on there and maybe have never thought about the things that this community is thinking about and go and experience this. And I think that's awesome. I think that is so invaluable, because now this person has a perspective that is way outside of themselves, that they would have never gotten, which is pretty cool.
Right. Well, I think that's an awesome note to end on. And yeah, thank you so much for joining us again on the 1-year anniversary of your flight. Yeah, it was awesome hearing your thoughts, and yeah, looking forward to many more conversations. And I really value not just yeah, I mean, I've said this before and continue to feel this way, that MoonDAO's been so incredibly lucky to have you be the one that went to space from our community. And I value your friendship and your thoughts, and also the way that you have been honoring the MoonDAO community. I think has been really incredible. So I really appreciate that. So yeah, thank you so much for being with us.
And thank you guys. I appreciate the community for making it all come true. So thank you all.
Awesome. All right, I will pass it back over to Ryan here, and we will now switch over to Discord. Great.
Cool. Thanks, guys. Yep, stick around, everyone. We'll shift gears here and get into some project updates and a couple proposals. So thanks again, Eiman. Thanks, Pablo. And a couple proposals. So thanks again, Eiman. Thanks, Pablo. And a couple proposals. So thanks again, Eiman. Thanks. Cool. All right. Thank you, everybody, for sticking around. Awesome talk with Eiman. I mean, super cool. I was there during the flight, obviously, in West Texas. Super cool. I know a number of people here in the community here watching right now. Bob, Anastasia, obviously, Pablo, Michi. It was an amazing day seeing somebody we know, somebody we've been working with, get blasted off and on a rocket into space. Titan was there, obviously, too, as well. Really, really cool to see what Eiman's been up to over the past year, where he's taking this amazing journey, and how he continues to take the MoonDAO community with him along on this journey. So we do have a couple proposals that we considered last week. There was MDP 186, the partnership proposal that was brought up by Demalu and Phil. And there was also MDP 189, the Citizen Space Policy Initiative from Daniel and Phil. We did have an issue last week with the Nance voting system where it got sent out into another cycle. So we do need all of our senators here to ensure that they can re-vote here on MDP 186 and MDP 189. We did not meet the quorum last week in any case. So we reset the vote for this week, so it goes up this cycle. So please, senators, ensure that you have given a thumbs up or thumbs down on both of these proposals, hopefully during the town hall here right now, if not within the next couple hours after this. But we do have a new proposal ready to be presented by Sarah at Treasure Corp. I will invite Sarah to come up on stage. She's available. Maybe. Sarah, if you're around. Well. Maybe we don't have Sarah at the moment, so I guess we can kind of shift gears for a little bit. We'll see if Sarah pops in later, but we can shift gears and do some project roundtable updates. Sarah is here. I've invited you up, Sarah. You can request to speak, perhaps. Or just speak on stage. I can't seem to get Sarah. So we can shift gears if we have Bob. Hey Bob, how's it going?
Howdy. Congrats on 1 year, Eiman. Thanks for the patch, Eiman. Also, I sat with him at New Worlds when he was speaking, and he gave me what at the time was his last patch. I hope he's since gotten more patches, because their flight patch, the NS26 patch, is awesome. If you haven't seen it, I'll post a picture of it on socials later. Oh, Sarah's here. I can wait.
Yeah, if you don't mind, Bob. Hey, Sarah.
Can't hear you, Sarah.
Yeah. I can see you, but can't hear you.
And now?
Yep, I can hear you now.
Oh, all right. No, please go ahead. I was just trying to troubleshoot. Apologies to interrupt you.
Oh no, it's your time. I'm later.
If you
Unless you're having
away.
technical difficulties.
I'm good now, but you already started, so please.
Sure. Not much to update. Thanks, Ryan, for all your help with the video, and we're getting all of the technical details. If I understand, we're waiting for an update to the voting system to push the vote live for WBA, but that's just because we want to have the right kind of vote so that we can allocate votes to different candidates. But everything's ready to go, so we should have that go live, I think, Monday, right, Ryan?
Yeah, we just had a small issue with the snapshot voting space, and we're gonna try to get that settled here with the new system integrated into the website, so folks can vote on the candidates there. And we are targeting Monday or early next week to get that live. So
if you want to go ahead.
I just shared the link to the YouTube video with all the candidates too. So if anybody missed the town hall last week, we have a condensed version with all the 2-minute presentations from everyone to check that out in the meantime too.
And we'll also be sharing a copy of the candidates' responses to a couple of the questions. We did keep the financial need private because I think that's private information to each of the candidates, but we did share both like their inspiration and motivation to do the mission. So we have direct responses from them both in their audiovisual presentation, as well as their written responses. So give the community the best look. These were the responses were what we used to rank the candidates. So you can kind of see the group that we thought were the best. It was ultimately a really hard decision. So I think it'll be evident from all of their presentations and also all of their responses that this is a really great group of people. So looking forward to the final vote and announcing next week who the winners are. So anyway, that's all I got.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, Bob. Yeah, really, really amazing candidates. Definitely going to be a tough vote for the MoonDAO community, but yeah, looking forward to seeing who the winners are there. Thanks again, Bob. I guess, Sarah, do you want to take it away with the presentation on the what is it, MDP 190?
Yeah, sure. No, thank you. And no, to be honest with you, the last session last week just blew me away with all the candidates. So yeah, thank you also for, making it so connected to folks, right? Appreciate that. Please let me know when you see my screen.
It's loading for me. I don't know about other people. There we go. You see it now.
Okay, it's evening here in Germany, so everyone's at home and on the internet. So this might crash. I'm very sorry. Let me just. All right, hang on. Can you still hear me?
Yep, still hear you, still see your screens.
Okay, so my screen is stuck, so I'm just gonna go ahead. I've shared all the links in the chat, so you could follow me, if it's okay for you. And so basically, hi, I'm Sarah Sawyer. I am a founder, one of the co-founders of Treasure Corp. Treasure Corp is a financial clarity product created specifically for DAO treasury management. And we successfully had our first partnership together with MoonDAO in the last quarter. And we found that we already cover 70 to 80% of the DAO's needs. And this was for us crucially important because we share the same abundance mentality as MoonDAO in terms of we're not gatekeeping. We want to also build something that's meaningful for other DAOs. And thankfully, because of our great partnership, we've had a lot of attention also from different DAOs who'd want to work with us. I also posted in the chat her DAO, which I also just got off the phone with, and I definitely vouched that MoonDAO is the place to go. So if you have a chance to look in there, it's purely builder oriented, women's space. If you have anything you want to share and you need support, it's a real great community. And then going direct into the heart of the topic today, proposal of ours is bridging the gap that we found from the first proposal that we created, and trying to put it into something meaningful in terms of the budget of MoonDAO, which is in this cycle already. And that is, we have found two critical gaps that you as users or us as the community, and I'm part of this community and I'm really humbled to be in here, have identified, is that we need to have a multi-chain wallet solution, and as well as you've really wanted to see the rewards clearly and transparently. And so these are the two things that we're proposing in this current cycle, and that would encompass multiple phases throughout multiple quarters for two things. We build through resilient execution and through validation from the community. We're not looking to do this without everyone's feedback. And we're also hoping that we can actually solve a lot of the operational, issues, manual work together. And just to put it into perspective, and I'm just gonna stop streaming because I'm very sorry, it's making my computer super slow.
No, I just lost you, Sarah, or Sarah froze on my end. Is it on my end, your guys' end? All right, Sarah. No, Sarah, can't hear you. You seem to have frozen totally on our end here. Might have to refresh here if you can hear us. To the audience, maybe we can get back to that. Hey, Sarah. I can't hear you. Can you hear me? Sarah? Sarah can hear me? Well, Sarah, I don't know. I'm not able to hear or see you. So I don't know if anyone else in the audience can. I might have to refresh and come back in here. Phil, I don't know if you have anything that you want to add about the proposals from last week. Just we do have them go through temperature check. Oops, I didn't need to do that. Sorry, Phil.
Hey, I just wanted to say that since last week, additional OKRs were added to the Citizen Space Policy Initiative proposal. I pasted them in the Discord chat, and you can see them on the proposal page. I spoke with the author of MDP 186, Damilola, and they're having some life events happen right now and can't attend today. I think they'll be slow to respond for the next couple weeks. So just wanted to announce that there in case the proposal went through.
Thank you, Phil. Looks like we did get the sufficient votes here for quorum. It looks like the Citizen Space Policy Initiative meets quorum and will be going up to snapshot here later this evening. And the partnership proposal did not meet the threshold to pass on to snapshot. So yeah, that's where we're at there. Thank you for the update, Phil.
Yep, thanks.
No, Sarah, do you want to try again here? Sarah?
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yep, can hear you.
Okay, I'm just
You need me
gonna
to share the screen or anything for the proposal? Let me know. I can share.
Yeah, if you could share the screen, that would be great. Then it probably won't hang up on my end. I'll keep my video off as well. And I also put the summary of the proposal here in the chat. So one of the things that came up was, what are we offering? What is it, compared to other products in the market? And there is in the proposal itself competitive market analysis at the end, where it's showing that Treasure Corp's USP is delivering multiple dashboards in one, compared to other products that are just trying to solve for one dashboard. For example, Curia Labs is one of our main competitors, I would say, and they built governance dashboards for Arbitrum in a similar fashion, proposing it through the governance cycle and putting it at a 50K mark project with an ongoing cost of 10K. And this is, I find a bit quite premium, and that is not our approach since we're also trying to standardize it. And given our close collaboration and successful pilot phase last time, we thought the best way to do it is to work together on this and make it a nice win-win situation for everyone. So our offer is for those two specific critical gaps closing, which is the multi-chain wallets and also the reward system through the Tableland integration, as well as an additional option of having a sort of citizen registration to help growth of MoonDAO platform, i.e. if anyone else in different DAOs is looking into their dashboard, they might get an option to see, oh, MoonDAO is here, let's take a look, we can sign up. And for all those, we would say in the next 4 weeks, we'd work very intensively together and try to make it in time to fill those gaps. In our point of view, the effort is not overly estimated, so we can deliver those in 4 weeks, and that's why the upfront costs would only be paid after each milestone listed on the weekly agenda would be met. And so here our ask is for you to thoroughly think through it. If you have questions, I'm happy to take them now. We've made it very visible in our analysis what the costs associated are. Most of the costs would be, making sure that the project is going well together. I'd be coordinating with you and everyone else. And also from our side, we've onboarded a specialized cross-chain engineer just for this project. So we may be able to achieve those goals. And if you do have any questions, I'm happy to take them now or later in our chat. But open to hear from you what you think, and yeah, generally what's your gut feeling?
Well, thank you, Sarah. If anybody has any questions, I see Phil's starting to put questions. But any senators, anyone else who has any questions, feel free to jump up on stage or put them in the chat. One quick thing I was seeing here, Sarah, I believe you put the proposal, well, it's a 15K ask, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so I believe the actual request though is 5 ETH, done at the
Yes, sorry, because
the $3,000 price, yeah. So
Yeah.
we need to update that figure to reflect the more current ETH pricing before the proposal does go up to vote for sure. I haven't been able to give it a detailed read, but what's the timeline here in terms of the end of this project, and what would it look like? Would we be seeing another similar sort of proposal after this?
That's a great question.
What's the kind of short and
Yeah.
long-term plan?
Yeah, so this is the short term as part of the long term phase, and the long term phase we thought to do it over 4 quarters. We'd first break down these 2 features in this quarter, and then in the next quarter we tackle the other roadmaps, like the enhancement on the governance dashboard, the reporting dashboard improvements that we need. And then in the last one, we'd go for any fixes, UI fixes, specifications, for MoonDAO that you'd need. And then that would probably end around, Q2 would be end of June next year. And obviously, this is all just depending on each proposal at a time. So the overall short-term proposal is mentioned in this one, but so you have an idea of where we're going based on what we've discussed previously. We've outlined that all in the annex section of this proposal. And so for this specific proposal, we'd have the 4 weeks. So starting after, when we've decided to go for this or not, up to you. But if we do, we would say 4 weeks starting immediately. We'd have to do a lot of upfront discussions, requirements, specifications, and then we'll go full on build mode to make sure that we meet all those features.
So the 15K would be for Q3 essentially, and there would be a follow-up proposal for Q4. Or am I understanding?
Yeah, that's correct. So that's the 5 ETH for Q3.
And do you have an estimate for what, obviously this is whether this goes forward or not, but what would it look like for going beyond this, I guess?
I mean, if you look at the rates of the, if I can just take you to the detailed cost breakdown, MoonDAO competitive pricing. This is in the annex under A2, budget justification and industry analysis. Here we give you an idea of actually what the pricing in the industry. So, given my background in traditional finance, usually you have a 0.5 to 2% AUM sort of fee. Compared to that, you have Karpathy who are doing something similar in the space. They're currently charging around 1 to 2% of AUM. Our approach is more that we are doing this project-based, and at the same time, if there are further proposals, you have a set hour cost. And in that A2, you'll find the detailed cost breakdown, where you have the multi-chain back-end development, $66 per hour, rewards, etc. And so if you take those and implement it on the number of hours for the next project, that would be your effort estimation. And that would be sort of the price we'd stick to going forward.
Phil has a question in the chat here. Will you host feedback/user testing sessions like the last project?
Yes, that would be absolutely our main goal. We cannot deliver this without you. Obviously, we need feedback and collaboration. And, Phil, appreciate your leadership here also with the community. So if we can bring on more folks to, give their feedback and find ways how to do it, maybe sometimes after the calls are too late or something, we could figure out, forums or just online chats or something to get more feedback. If we go through with this, obviously, we have to review this.
I don't see any other questions coming into the chat or here on stage. I did mention that one change that you want to edit. There may be some async feedback coming into in the proposal channel from our senators, but I will post so if you could be aware of that before we go to vote, but I will post the temp check link here for the senators to give their thumbs up or thumbs down on MDP 190. Anything else you want to add in there, Sarah?
No, I appreciate you, and I'll reach out to you separately because I'm not 100% sure how to edit the document. Yeah.
Okay.
And thank you everyone for listening through the disconnection.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. It should be easy to edit, but let us know if you have any issues there. Cool. Thank you, Sarah. Okay, we can switch back into some project roundtable updates. Those were the 3 proposals that we have under consideration for this week, 2 that were presented last week. that looks like they will be going up to Snapshot. And once we get the temp check finished on MDP 190, we'll have an answer there. But yeah, let me invite Anastasia up to the stage for any updates on the Brazil project. Hey, how's it going?
Hi. Hi. Yeah, it's almost a week until we go to Brazil, so we're excited. All right, so most of the tickets are bought, and you and Eiman will receive in the next hour them. We did get confirmation from Brazilian Space Agency to meet on September 9. It will be official meeting in Brasilia, and also 99% will be there, the Minister of Foreign Affairs even. Before that, there was a discussion that President wants to see us, but then, yeah, they said, will it be enough if you have a Minister of Foreign Affairs? So I think it's enough, right? And yes, and so Eiman mentioned in his talk, if we spend the night in Habitat Marte, yeah, this is the plan, not in an analog mission, we just visit there. We'll have a forum there, meet with young enthusiasts in space, and yeah, we'll just spend a day at Habitat Marte. So basically everything is on track. We're just still preparing the press release, and yeah, media also waiting, all the hospitals waiting for our press release to make posters and to send it to their media representatives. Plus the t-shirts, our collaboration, MoonDAO and Unity, are in the process, and Ryan saw already the design. It's fun and cool. We have a few edits there on the way, and it should be ready next week. So yeah, a lot of cool stuff coming. And still, I think maybe in a day or two, Ryan, I will let you know about our schedule and how we can fit in meeting MoonDAO community in Brazil.
Cool. Yeah, exciting. It's hard to believe it's coming up so quick here, but
yeah,
be fun. Awesome. Thank you, Anastasia. Yeah, we got a bunch of stickers and swag and stuff sent to Eiman too, so we should have a bunch of stuff to hand out to the folks that we meet on the ground in Brazil. It'd be cool.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Thanks, Anastasia. Yeah, Pablo, I know you're back from a little bit of a well-deserved break, but I don't know if you have any updates that you want to share on the executive branch this week.
Yeah, not too much, simply because I was on vacation this week, so not too much to update. Well, I guess the team was very active though, so maybe I can share a little bit of updates from the rest of the team. We're going to be rolling out kind of the cornerstone of the new website, which is a homepage for citizens. So for all citizens who were part of the Space Acceleration Network, you'll have a dashboard, and on top of that, we have a bunch of quests that you can do and receive governance power for doing. So that'll be really cool. It'll kind of help organize a lot of the site. So we have everything broken down into like different actions that you can take on the website. And yeah, really excited to get that out. It's been kind of this is kind of the culmination of a lot of work that's been done on the website, and so that'll be really exciting. Yeah, we're planning on tomorrow putting out a new liquidity pool with a fee hook. We've been messing around with some of the currently deployed pools, and yeah, we'll have an update on that soon. And yeah, and we've got a few awesome speakers lined up in the next couple of weeks. So it'll be really exciting. Loretta Whitesides, Kristen Brodsky. So yeah, really looking forward to those conversations. And yeah, some other stuff in the works, but nothing to update on those yet. So yeah, lots of good stuff happening.
Cool. Yeah, thank you, Pablo. Yeah, we're working on getting some new teams in the network too. We've had, obviously, Bob's been instrumental in getting a whole slew of new citizens into the network, but also some other folks that, you know, Anastasia's recommended, or some organic growth too. So great to see that growth there. I did just share the link to the events calendar. Pablo mentioned Loretta Whiteside's next week, which will be awesome. Chris, in a couple weeks after that. So yeah, please do RSVP, share. Yeah, that's basically what we have this week. We've been going for about an hour and a half. Don't forget to submit your contributions, any community contributions, independent things that you've done, maybe help spread the word about MoonDAO, or just any related space work that you're doing to help, you know, help achieve MoonDAO's mission of getting to the moon and becoming a multi-planetary species and all that. You can share those contributions in that independent work to get rewarded. We've got another month left here in Q3. So we've had some cool stuff come through from members of the community over the past week or two. I've seen come through in general. So awesome. Yeah, keep an eye out, as we mentioned, for the snapshot votes coming out later this evening. We're about to hit the threshold on the Treasure Corp temp check, it looks like. And yeah, keep your eyes peeled for next week's world's biggest analog vote. So awesome. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. And we'll see you next week for a chat with Loretta Whitesides.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Welcome to MoonDAO, a revolutionary governance model and mission-oriented community that's reshaping collaboration in the space industry. Our mission is to create a self-sustaining, self-governing settlement on the moon to act as a launch point into the cosmos. MoonDAO is governed like a nation, with its own economy, constitution, voting system, treasury, elections, and senate, but internet native, and so without the limitations of geography. In 2022, we sent our first member to space, showcasing our model's capacity for real-world impact. Now, we're implementing key solutions for global collaboration in the space industry. We offer a borderless, permissionless platform that enables everyday people to participate in the future of space development and exploration. Be part of our lunar legacy and join the MoonDAO movement today.